Hello and welcome to another episode of Fun with Hats. Today we're going to explore top hats. What were they made for originally, and why do we wear them now? Are you ready?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, this actually
We're not
isn't...
going to talk about hats, though.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess this isn't Fun with Hats. I got my shows mixed up.
This is not Fun with Hats.
This is the Coffee Milk Hour. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Puffy.
I'm Jerry.
And what are we talking about today, buddy?
Today we are talking about Donald Trump.
God damn it!
I've been wanting to talk about Donald Trump for a long time, and it never seemed like it was the right time. But for some reason today feels like the right time to dedicate an entire episode to this fucking idiot.
Doesn't everybody talk about Donald Trump enough?
No, they don't. And if they do, it's not in the right context, and I disagree with some things, and I think we should get our own opinion out there, don't you?
Sure do. Buckle up, kids. It's about to go down. All right, let's talk about Donald Trump and how he's the greatest potential president in the history of presidents.
Worst potential president in the history of all potential presidents.
What you said just offended me, and I don't have an actual argument
you
to
could
back
run
up.
for president, and I'd actually support you over Donald Trump.
Holy shit!
I know.
Yes!
I would, and that's a really scary thought for me.
Well, okay. Why do you hate him so much?
Because he's an idiot.
That's fair. I want to play...
That's the level of my emotion. It's like, I can't even, make an accurate, concise thought. He's an idiot. He literally, I'm angry at the mention of him. When I see him on TV, I get mad. Because... we put him in, well, not we, I don't want to include myself in the group of imbeciles that went out there and voted for him in primary after primary, but they put him in this position. And then people like me look at it and think, how the fuck did that happen? Seriously.
That's wonderful. Whenever he shows up on TV, I have to do a double take because I'm not sure if it's Donald Trump or a slowly rotting potato.
Why a potato? Are they red?
No, he just looks weird, man. He looks like he's a scary
he's 70.
looking dude.
He might die in office.
He's 70?
Yeah.
Everybody was getting on Bernie for being 73, 74?
He's 69.
Bernie's how old?
No.
Oh, Trump is 69. So
yeah.
that's still fucking old as shit.
Yeah, he's pretty old. Hillary's pretty old, too.
Well, none of them should be running for president, but that's besides the point. You want to talk about Trump? Let's talk about Trump. We can talk about how big of an asshole he is. We can talk about how big of a flip-flopper he is. We can talk about anything. To clarify, in case you are listening in to us for the first time, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm dead down the middle, but I think that anybody with an IQ base of at least 90 can agree that Donald Trump is a terrible, awful, horrible human being and probably the worst-case scenario for presidency against any other candidate. Yes, even Hillary Clinton.
And I'm a liberal. I'm basically a socialist. But I will tell you right now, if Mitt Romney were running right now, I'd feel way better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way better. Even though I hate that guy and I hate his policies, at least he's... well, because semi-respectable, maybe?
We can look back on Mitt Romney and poke jokes like, oh, binders full of women.
Binders full of women. Still
but
a great Facebook page.
as he held up against Obama, he did have certain policies that, I agreed with and thought weren't bad ideas. But there isn't a single goddamn thing that Trump has that I can look at and say, you know what, I can get behind this. I can't even say that economically I think he would be a great president. I've said it in the past, but when guys like Ben Stein are coming out and are like, no, he's dead wrong about economics, I'm going to vote for him anyway, but he's dead wrong. That's fucking scary. Your one job, you're literally the guy who's the business guy, and you're not good enough at business to be the president.
So what bothers me, what's scary to me is that, we had the whole Tea Party thing happen. And that was really scary. Sarah Palin as a vice presidential nomination was scary. Michelle Bachmann in Congress was scary. Ted Cruz was scary. It's who are these weird-ass people coming in, talking about the Constitution, and they don't give a shit about, the establishment or policy, and Ted Cruz is willing to shut down the government over policy, and just kind of irresponsible, and these people were scary. And then Donald Trump runs against him in the primary, and he's so far to the right of all of them that Ted Cruz is now an establishment candidate.
Yeah.
How fucked up is this? That's because Ted Cruz is still scary, and I still don't think he really has a place in politics, nor do I think Michelle Bachmann had a place in politics. I don't think these Tea Party people should be there. Whatever, their states voted them in, but Trump is running to the right of the Tea Party. He's basically a fascist.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm not saying that to be like, oh, he's Hitler. I mean, like, to get further conservative of the ultra-conservatives is literally fascism on the spectrum. Spectrum?
You're welcome.
Spectrism. I like spectrism. That's the new word.
Next episode is going to be words and how to use them properly.
Yes, and we'll fail at that too. So, Trump got here. I understand the anger of the American people to an extent, I guess. We come through 8 years of an Obama administration, and like him or not, like it or not, he made improvements.
Over 340 total documented accomplishments.
The economy is better. The unemployment rate is better. Our trade is arguably better. The real estate crash is, as far as we know, over. There's been a big recovery. The auto industry, I know we bailed them out, but their stock rates are, I'm pretty sure, highest in recorded history.
Right.
Business is doing well. We've made a great recovery, and he's had to go through racism and obstruction and everything else to get us here, yet here we are. So I don't really understand why everyone is so angry that they look at someone like Donald Trump and be like, wow, I really connect with this guy.
Here's the thing, man. It's not anger. A lot of people come out and say that Trump has done so well because he digs into that anger against the establishment that people has, and he's the guy who makes it okay for you to feel your feelings of anger towards the establishment. That's all bullshit. He's letting people be fucking bigoted, close-minded, racist fuckwads and get away with it, because when a man can run for president and win the nomination for the Conservative Party and be that person, anybody can be that person. That's literally what his rallies are filled with. Like, just no common sense. It's insanity. It's literal bigoted insanity, and it's frustrating because...
Go ahead.
It's just frustrating because, like, people keep saying, like, oh, he's letting you feel the anger towards the establishment. No, he's letting you be a fucking asshole and set our country back a few hundred years, and it's just, it's horrifying to be a part of. Like, when I have friends all over the world, I've got friends in Australia, friends in India, who message me throughout, like, the primaries, and especially when Trump got the nomination, and they were like, dude, are you okay? And I was like, can I come live with you? I can't do this. I can't emotionally handle this.
I mean, it's just a primary.
Yeah, I mean, is he going to win the general election? I don't fucking know anymore, man. Like, it was a joke. Even Stephen Colbert did the best thing. He did, like, a time-lapse of him watching the Trump primaries and, like, eventually coming to the nomination, where he, like, starts off laughing at it and ends up laughing hysterically while in a straitjacket. And, like, that's how I feel. But now, like, you look at the numbers and you look at the fact that after tomorrow, more than likely, Hillary Clinton is going to be the Democratic nominee. That makes me sick to my stomach, but, I mean, we can't argue with the facts. Bernie has to have blowout wins in every single state out of, like, the 5 of them that are voting tomorrow. It's just not going to happen. The numbers aren't there. They're going to come down to those two, and people really hate Hillary for the wrong reasons. Like, I have a problem with her being president, but, like, for her policies. The whole Benghazi thing, it's fucking bullshit. Shut up. She didn't do anything wrong. The whole email thing, shut up. She hasn't done anything wrong. You want to hate her for a legitimate reason. But when you have to pick between those two, you still got to go with Hillary, because you can't go with Trump. But people are so stubborn in their minds that they're like, fuck it, let's see what Trump can do.
Well, outside of that, I think what Trump has done is, for years, the Republicans have seemed a little racist, and maybe seemed like they don't like Muslim people, and maybe seemed like they're not going to immediately jump to the aid of black people, or poor people, or the middle class. They're more concerned about tax loopholes than they are about middle income, and they certainly don't fight for the minimum wage. And I think what Donald Trump did was he came out and he just said what they were all thinking. Every single one of them. And the Republican Party was like, whoa, man, you can't say that. And all the Republican people were like, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Get rid of the immigrants. They're taking our jobs. And all that right-wing propaganda that they've been kind of perpetuating with no evidence whatsoever to support. When he came out and said that, even though there's no support to a lot of that mindset, a lot of that logic, they got fired up because they were like, finally, after years of this rhetoric being shoved down our throats by the establishment, here's a guy who's going to do it. He's going to build a wall. He's going to deport the Mexicans. He's going to ban all the Muslims. Like, this is the best thing ever. He's going to save the economy because he's a great businessman, right? Right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
No, he's a fucking fraud. But either way, he gets there. He gets to the nominee, to the Republican nomination, and now everyone like me who thought this was a joke is thinking, is he going to beat Hillary? And I'd like to think cooler heads will prevail. People will look at this guy and think he's unfit, and he is unfit, and there's a multitude of reasons why, and I'd like to get into them.
Sure, let's do it. I was just going to say we're looking at you, independents, because you guys are really going to be the saving grace of this election. The Republicans are going to vote for him just because, you know, it's always been Republican versus Democrat, and nobody can ever look outside of their own party for the sake of common sense. It's basically like having a favorite football team. If your favorite football team is fucking garbage, you're still going to support your favorite football team. I don't know why humans are like that, but we are. So whatever. Let's fucking talk about why this guy's an asshole.
His temperament sucks, and the word temperament gets used a lot, and I don't think it hits home. This guy is not a professional. This guy is not a leader. This is not someone that you want to be in charge of the free world ever. I don't think I want him to be in charge of his own company. Frankly,
a lot of people
I'm not
don't.
sure if he's in charge of his own company and making decisions based on this Trump University thing. This guy is literally an asshole, and maybe assholes are good at negotiating, and maybe assholes are good at being selfish. I don't want a selfish asshole to be my president, because selfish assholes only think about themselves. They're not thinking about you. They're not thinking about me. They're not thinking about the middle class. Donald Trump wants to be president to say that Donald Trump was president, and maybe he can rewrite some tax codes. Maybe he can better his own businesses. Maybe he can use that reach to better, influence his dealings. But it sucks for us.
I would like to hit on that a little harder. I want to make this perfectly clear. You are 110% on the money when you say everything you just said about why he wants to be president. Everybody voting for him, thinking that he's going to be there for them against the establishment and like support them in what they want. It's not true. This man is a man who has done terrible and awful things to get at the top and stay there. And he's not going to change his ways once he's the leader of the free world. Like, it's not going to happen. He is going to continue to do terrible and awful things, and it's going to be at your expense. And it hurts my soul a little bit that some of you people fall for this.
So that's just temperament, right? Then we've got political correctness. He brings up this idea of political correctness, and we did an episode on political correctness because I think we both agree that America's a little bit too PC.
Like taking down the Mystique fucking picture?
Yes.
Unreal.
However, there is a difference between being politically correct and being outright racist.
Yep.
Outright racist. And for a little bit, I thought maybe he's just not a good public speaker. Maybe he's just off the cuff. With the Muslim ban, maybe he didn't realize how that was coming off. But this week, there were two particular events that made me realize that he is literally a racist. He literally, maybe he's not prejudiced, but he's certainly racist. He organizes people by their ethnicity and class. He came out against this judge.
The one overseeing a couple of his 3,500 lawsuits.
Right. The Trump University lawsuit specifically. And he said that he is unfit to oversee this case because he is of Mexican heritage, and because he wants to build a wall, Donald Trump wants to build a wall, this judge cannot proceed over his case because of his Mexican heritage. This judge was born in Indiana and has been a judge for years. Trump doesn't like him. Trump makes it racial. Trump also, at a rally, pointed out a black person and said, what was it?
Oh, that's my African American.
That's
right
my
here?
African American over there. And when you're making outright statements like that, whether or not your motive is to offend or not, it comes off as seeming ignorant and racist. And that's not has nothing to do with political correctness and everything to do with treating human beings with dignity and being a professional. And a lot of that goes right into his policies, like building a wall to keep Mexicans out, like banning Muslims to keep Muslims out.
Real quick, before we jump into the wall and his policies, or lack thereof, because he really doesn't have any whatsoever, I'd just like to give some information here. The judge that we were talking about is Gonzalo P. Curiel. He assumed office in 2012. He was born in East Chicago, Indiana. His alma mater is Indiana University, and then the Indiana University Moore School of Law. He's been a judge for over 4 years, and all of this came about when he was assigned several cases, again, out of the 3,500, which has been noted as the most lawsuits a presidential candidate has ever been involved with in the history of our country. It was then that he said, oh, this guy's from Mexican heritage, and, he's against me because he's a Mexican, even though he was born and raised here as an American citizen legally and works for the federal legal system. So I wanted to put that information out there.
But his policies reflect it, though. So you've got a bunch of people who hate Mexicans because they think they're taking our jobs, even though most of them are working jobs that most American citizens wouldn't want to work. Trump says he's going to build a wall to keep them out. He's going to ban Muslims from coming into the country until we figure things out.
Yeah.
And we don't know what those things are. We don't know how to keep people out of this country. A, we were founded on immigration, letting people come over, and B, sometimes people are really good at being deceptive and faking their identities or bringing bombs over, and there's always the chance that that's going to happen, but you don't ban all Muslims coming over because you're afraid of that risk. And I think I talked about this before, but we're America. We're not supposed to be pussies. We're not supposed to be afraid of every little fucking thing, yet we want to keep people out because there might be a bomb. But then every time there's a tragedy, we all unite and we say, oh, we're America, we're so tough. And then after a month, we go cower back in our holes and we're like, oh shit, we're afraid of terrorists. We're afraid of attacks. We're afraid of everything. And like, what the fuck is that shit?
It's simple fear mongering. They're using these we're creating a society where we fear everything because the candidates can use that to create fear mongering, to say, I can fix this so you're not afraid anymore. Where back in the day, it's, we can fix this so we don't have to have our backs against the wall all the time. And even before that, it was, we can fix this so we can have our freedom. It's degraded slowly over time to where we've just lost our fucking backbone and they're preying on that.
And it's just so hypocritical, let's ban the Muslims and get rid of the Mexicans, but oh yeah, we're gonna bomb the shit out of ISIS. It's like, it's contradictory because you're saying that you don't fear the enemy, yet you fear the enemy so much you're going to keep all of the people who resemble the enemy out of the country. It really just sickens me that people want this guy to lead our country.
I'm getting really sick and tired of this whole wall building thing. We've talked about it. Everybody's talked about it. It is financially impossible for him to build and sustain this wall without raping the American citizens of their tax dollars. It's as simple as that. Mexico's not going to pay for the wall. You guys can argue it as much as they want. The former president, the current president of Mexico have both said, go fuck yourself. We're not building a wall. You're out of your fucking mind. It's not going to happen. Like, I've even joked about it in the past. Like, every time you say something that pisses me off, I'm like, oh, well, the wall just got 10 feet higher. But that's a joke, and that's why I say it. But when he says it, I genuinely think he means it. People have asked him, what are you going to use? What are the materials you're going to use? And when he spouts that off, they create this projection of cost, and they're like, all right, how are you going to pay for this? He's like, Mexico's going to pay for it, and they're going to be happy to pay for it. Where's your basis for that when the current president of Mexico is saying, no, we're not?
But the people eat it up. They're like, yeah, they should pay for it, and that's all they care about, because a lot of the people I feel that are supporting him maybe haven't voted before or are first-time voters, or they're people who literally, or maybe they haven't voted in a while, or they're people who really buy into this belief that Mexico will pay. Or maybe, but like, how can you can't have a solid understanding of the American political system, as in, for Trump to do this, it has to pass Congress, it has to be deemed constitutional, so it has to pass the court. You can't think that he's going to be able to do everything he wants to do because there are checks and balances. And so if you just take that into account, most of what he's talking about doing seems impossible. Impossible. It's not going to pass.
Right.
On the hypocritical side, he's the biggest flip-flopper of any candidate in recent memory.
Yeah, and we thought Romney was bad.
But Trump doesn't catch any flack for it, even from the right. He said the biggest problem in the world is nuclear bombs, but now he says that he wouldn't mind seeing Japan and North Korea getting nuclear bombs. He was originally in favor of the Iraq war, but now says he never would have gone to Iraq and never should have touched Iraq. He was pro-choice. Now he's pro-life because his view has evolved. He said that torture does work and that we should bring back waterboarding, only to walk that back and say that we should stay within the law. He said that teachers in schools shouldn't have guns except when they should.
That's a direct quote.
In the same sentence, I don't know what it means It's so dumb, I'm not going to think about it. And he originally favored banning assault rifles and was in favor of a longer waiting period for guns, gun licensing, but is now very, quote, very pro-Second Amendment.
Right, because he's reaping into the NRA.
This guy changes his view to meet the expectations of the largest demographic. Right. Or, as Stephen Hawking said, the lowest common denominator. So people go nuts over it. But his policies are impractical. He's a flip-flopper. Listen, I will support Hillary Clinton if she's the nomination, but I also know that she voted for the Iraq War and that she didn't have the best judgment in that situation. But I can say that about my beliefs.
And she can acknowledge it.
And she can acknowledge it. He doesn't acknowledge anything. He won't acknowledge the fact that he created an identity so that he could take calls in the 90s or whatever. He could screen calls with an interviewer to talk himself up, essentially.
I have to fact check you on that. He has to deny it now when almost 20 years ago he acknowledged it within months of it actually happening. So it happened, John Miller became a thing, and then they got to him and he was like, yeah, okay, I was John Miller. And now, 15, 20 years later, he's saying, no, I wasn't John Miller. Like, that's literally a change of claim in 3 times in less than 30 years about one minute topic. And you sit here and expect him to support your beliefs that he claims he does. Go back and look at the primary speeches that he has. In state A, he'll say, I'm for this and against this. And if state B, the next one he goes to, is completely flip-flopped in what they want, guess what he's going to do? He's going to switch it up to what they want to hear. He's a fucking hype guy. I would hire this guy for every acoustic show I ever did in my life because the crowd would just be so amped up by the time he was done. No matter what I played, no matter how crap I am, you know, in my actual playing, just the fact that he was there is enough to get them amped up. That's all he is.
And the Trump University stuff is sickening. It was literally a pyramid scheme. The handbook said you want them to get as much money out of these people as you can. You want to target people who make over this much money. You want them to put all the expenses on their credit card. I mean, you don't want a guy who's literally put businesses in place to scam people in charge of you because he's going to scam America. Yep. Very simply, he's going to scam America, except it's not going to work because there are checks and balances, and then it's going to be 4 years of seeing this guy on the TV and 4 more years of nothing. Nothing. Not even the improvements the Obama administration has been able to put forward, slow and small as they may be, there will be nothing, except he'll repeal all the executive orders, and he'll go after Obamacare, and in that case, maybe things get worse.
I agree, because he has nothing in place to change it. Now, that is, you know, those are things that are comprised of a team and a cabinet that come together and say, hey, this is what we need to fix. But every presidential candidate has a foundation. This is what I want to do. I'm going to bring people in who support that. He can't even tell you what he wants to do. He's just, I want to get rid of it. Okay, in favor of what? Give me a concept. Well, no. He doesn't even say no. He just dodges it. I mean, if you want to know how big this or how badly this guy dodges questions, just go watch the CNN interview. I can't believe I just said that, with him and Jake Tapper, where he asked him, what was it, 23 times?
He pressed 23 times on that issue, on the issue of whether or not the judge's ethnicity and race played into the decision. To which Trump responded, I'm building a wall.
Yeah, I mean, he never actually directly answered the question, because that's not something new. He doesn't directly answer questions. He feeds into your primal feelings, and you know what? I'm going to make this statement. It's probably going to be terrible, but I firmly believe that most people who support Donald Trump, who like blindly follow him just because of the things that he says at his rallies, are probably just as bigoted and racist as he are, and that's why they want him in office, so they can be more comfortable about being the terrible fucking people that they are while he's president. That's not okay. I've never been somebody in my life, even as a kid when I couldn't vote, but like I was starting to get into politics and like figuring out how our country worked. I always thought, whoever your candidate is, vote for them, but have a solid reason why. I would never try to convince you not to vote for somebody if that's who you really wanted to vote for, no matter how warped and narrow-minded I found your opinions to be. Like when people voted for Bush over Kerry, or Bush over Gore, or people were trying to vote for McCain with Sarah Palin as the vice presidential candidate against Obama. You know, I never said you really shouldn't.
But at least John McCain's track record as a senator was relatively good. He was a respectable individual.
Exactly.
And Sarah Palin was there. Everybody knew Palin was there because the Democrats had put Hillary up in the primary and the Republicans wanted to appeal to the woman voter, so they brought in Palin. And I mean, everyone knew that was just a political move.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going on record as saying you can't vote for this guy. If you can come to me and give me a genuine argument as to what his policies are, why he's good for the country, economically, foreign policy-wise, in any aspect that a president is required to be good for his country, then I will listen to you. But I guarantee you that you will have nothing with substance to say, because not even your fucking candidate has anything with substance to say, because he's a fucking moron with a shit ton of money who had nothing going on at the time and said, you know what, fuck it, I'll run for president. I had nothing better to do. I'm tied up in 3,500 fucking different litigations. What the fuck, people? Are we really having this conversation right now?
And for all Hillary Clinton's lack of judgment and her experience, she has lived her life in the spotlight. She's gone through a lot. You don't need to like everything about her. I just think about it this way. She has done more good for this world than Donald Trump. Even though she's made mistakes and there are bad things there, she has done more good for this world than Donald Trump has done. Period. I mean, there's no way around it. She doesn't have the terrible attitude that he has. He is a divider. Donald Trump is a divider, and that's what he's looking to do. He's looking to get his way, shove everybody else out. He says he's a great negotiator. I certainly haven't seen it. I sit here and I battle with myself, not battle, but I really try to think, what does a Trump presidency look like? What does that look like? And for me, the only thing I can come up with is shame and embarrassment.
Yep.
George W. Bush was an idiot.
But he wasn't a bad president.
He was an idiot. I think he was a bad president, but Donald Trump will be worse, because Donald Trump doesn't even know what he's doing. He doesn't know about foreign policy. Honestly, he doesn't really know about economics. There's a difference between running your own business and running an economy. And now, a president isn't a cure-all. A president isn't expected to know absolutely everything about every topic he's overseeing. It's impossible.
But they need to have a basis. When Paul Ryan will not endorse you for a month after and then reluctantly says that he'll vote for you, you don't even have the support of your own congressman and the head of the Republican Party underneath you. Right.
How are you going to get anything done? You're not. There are Republicans that say they're going to vote for Hillary Clinton because they don't want Trump. And it's not because Trump is a bad candidate. It's because Trump is ignorant, and it's because Trump is not professional, and it's because Trump he's just not a leader. When I say George Washington, when I say Abraham Lincoln, when I say Ronald Reagan or Bill Clinton, and then I say Donald Trump, something doesn't fit there.
Yep. Absolutely agree. You also left out FDR. How dare you?
But it doesn't even need to be a great president. Gerald Ford. Grover Cleveland. Those are all presidents that weren't idiots. They were just kind of not great. Trump would be worse than George W. Bush.
Trump would be worse than Andrew Jackson. And let's be honest about it.
He would be.
Yeah.
In every aspect.
And Andrew Jackson was arguably one of the worst presidents we've ever had.
This is a guy that can hit the button on Obama anytime. This is the guy who's willing to piss off allies. And I'm not for war, but this guy...
He would feed off of it.
He would feed off of it because this is a power trip. And you can't have a guy who's going to be on a power trip in the White House, which is why I have so much respect and admiration for Barack Obama, who, through 8 years of obstruction and everything else, has remained calm, cool, and collect.
Yep.
Donald Trump is none of those things. And the world can explode at any minute. I don't want to live in a world where it's okay to keep people out of this country. I don't want to live in a world where I'm afraid that someone might get through with a bomb and some people might die. These are facts that we need to live with. But we live that life every day. We live with... If it wasn't that, it'd be domestic terrorism like Timothy McVeigh or like the Aurora shooting. Who these people are Americans and they're just a little insane. I mean, we live with this reality every day. Building a wall isn't going to stop it. It's not going to stop it. So stop feeding in to the fear-mongering and stop acting like this guy is the savior. This guy is going to destroy our country and maybe the world.
It's absolutely possible. do your own research. Don't listen to just what he's saying and take it at face value, because that's what people did with Trump University, and now they're thousands and thousands of dollars in debt. That's what people did when they allowed him to build a golf course in Scotland that is now failing, and he's basically getting kicked out of there right now. Scotland doesn't even want him anymore, that golf course. Which incidentally is the same one where the candidate Donald Trump says climate change isn't real, but his company files for a shoreline on his Scotland golf course, citing climate change as the reason why they need it. I mean, any paper trail you pick up in looking for dirt on Donald Trump will lead inevitably to a big old pile of shit, and that's what I honestly feel like this man is as a human being. He is you can hate any politician you want, but at the end of the day, a politician is working, I hope, in for what they see is the best case scenario for the people of this country, whereas Donald Trump is a man who at the end of the day is looking in for what is the best interest of Donald Trump. I don't even think he cares about his family the same way he cares about himself. You know what I mean? It's scary. It needs to stop. I feel like I'll feel a lot better in November when whomever is the president besides him, it'll be a worst case scenario. I personally would just like to see Barack Obama get a petition signed to run for a third term.
Yeah, third term would be great. Now, I know this all sounds like a bunch of left-wing propaganda, super bias. So I'm just going to say I would not be having this. This episode would not exist if Jeb Bush or even Ted Cruz or John Kasich or Scott Walker had won the nomination.
Oh, hang on a second. If we were having if Ted Cruz won the nomination, we would absolutely be having episode after episode fact checking to prove that he was the Zodiac killer.
Come on. Well, he is a Zodiac killer. But that's still a better alternative than Donald Trump.
It's sad. I'm laughing at a fear.
So I'm just going to end there. So that is our Donald Trump episode. Finally, I feel relieved. I'm glad that we've talked about it. We went a little bit over. We'll see you guys on Wednesday with our next episode. I'm Jerry.
I'm Puffy.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Have a beautiful time.